Damn. It was only a matter of time, huh? I was really hoping I would not lose the stream. I don't even know what happened. I might have accidentally clicked something. But I was really hoping I wouldn't lose the stream. I was really hoping for that. I've been rambling on for hours. Man, I was really going, man. That stream was cooking. Held up for 2 hours and said, buddy, you yapping too much. Let me end this here for you. Damn. I was really cooking, though. I was really cooking in that stream. All right. Well, it'll be second half here for this stream. It is hot as hell in here. Second half of this stream. I was really cooking the first half. So we'll just say the first half was AFC. You know, I might have to make a change on that. We'll say AFC edition for that one. And I guess for the NFC edition, we're going to have to speed up the process because if all of a sudden I'm getting cut off because the stream decided to end for no reason, I guess that's just a sign to me that the network's starting to act up. So it's time for me. It's time for me to pick up the pace here a little bit. So, if that's the case, I ain't gonna waste time because we may be cut off again. So, I'll start for the top here. The Rams. That's my Super Bowl team. Got a top 5 offense, a top 15 defense. They have the capabilities of getting to the Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford's the MVP for me. I said they were the biggest threat to Philadelphia last year. I said they were the team to beat when they got Devontae Adams, although he is hurt right now, dealing with an injury. Hopefully he'll be okay and they'll be able to get him back. But yeah, Rams are my Super Bowl pick. Chicago, I was discussing Chicago when we got cut off. Chicago's a great team. They're going to be a playoff team, but people don't buy into them because of the schedule, and they haven't faced off against a lot of great teams. So they have a chance to prove themselves the last 3 weeks. You beat the Packers, beat the Niners, and beat the Lions. Everybody will shut up. You'll silence the critics, and you will have an opportunity to prove yourself as a legitimate threat heading into the playoffs because you beat these guys. You have a chance to prove yourself. If Chicago wants to prove themselves and silence the crowd, they want to silence the critics. They want to silence the critics. They want to silence all the noise and all the criticism. Oh, you're not really a great team. You're fraudulent. Look at who you've played. Look at who you lost to. Look at who you beat. If you want to silence all the noise, this is your chance. You got Green Bay. You got Detroit. You got San Francisco. You beat those 3 teams. You make a point. You make a statement. And you showcase that you are for real. So it's up to you, Chicago. Win those last 3 games and prove yourself, or head into the playoffs being viewed as a fraudulent team and probably a first-round exit. The choice is yours, Chicago. You do what you got to do. Next up, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles are 9-5 on the season. I'm going to be very honest right now. I don't see this Philly team going a distance. They have not played. This reminds me of the Eagles team we saw in 2023. This is the 2023 Eagles. This is not the 2024 Eagles. This is not the Eagles team that won the Super Bowl last year. I know they're the defending champions, and we like to give the benefit of the doubt, but when you look at these guys, they're not playing well. They're not playing as consistent as you need them to be. Of course, the defending champs, they have impressive wins. They beat the Rams. They came back down 18 against the Rams. When the Buccaneers were at their height, they beat Tampa Bay. They also beat Green Bay in a weird game, and they beat Detroit. The Eagles, of course, have some good quality wins, even though it wasn't high scoring in some of these games. These were good quality wins, but Philadelphia right now can be beat. They lost to the Broncos, though they don't have to face off against them unless they match up in the Super Bowl. They lost to Chicago. They lost to the Chargers. They lost to the Cowboys, too, although the Cowboys aren't going to make the playoffs if the Eagles win the division. But yeah, Philadelphia to me this year has not felt like the same Eagles team we saw last year. I mean, just taking a look at it, Philadelphia's offense is within the bottom 10 of the league. Total yards, bottom 10. Passing yards, within the bottom 10. Rushing yards, they're not the same rushing football team. Last year, they were a top 3 rushing unit. This year, they're middle of the road. Their offense isn't great. In terms of putting points on the board, Philadelphia, again, is a middle-of-the-road team. They average putting up 23 points a game. Baltimore and Pittsburgh scores more points than these guys. Kansas City's offense scores more than them. Houston scores more than them. I can't trust Philadelphia's offense. I can't. I don't like Philly's offense, and I don't trust it. On the flip side here, Philadelphia's defense has been decent, but solid this year. It's right up there with the Rams. In terms of total yards, yeah. Passing defense, it's within the top 10. It's 10th in the league. Passing defense is 10th in the league. You could do something with that. Run defense, they've been really poor at stopping the run this year. So you can run all over Philly's defense. In terms of scoring defense, Philly's actually been pretty great. They're top 10. They average giving up 19 points a game. So Philadelphia looks like a playoff team. Philadelphia looks like they could do some damage as a playoff team, but they don't look like the dominant team we saw go win the Super Bowl last year. I don't trust Philadelphia. I started out the season saying with the way they were playing, I was like, okay, you can get away playing with this now that you're the defending champions, but at some point you got to showcase what you can do consistently. But with the way they've played, I don't like what I'm seeing from Philadelphia. I don't trust them at all. They obviously have a shot. They beat the Rams head-to-head. They can absolutely do it again, but I don't like the chances of them. What's going on, Daniel? I don't like the chances that I see here with Philadelphia. I don't think they're going to repeat as champs. I just don't see it. Their offense has been too bad this year. And they're not running the ball well. They're not throwing the ball well. They're not scoring at a high clip. They don't look like the team we saw last year at all. They look like 2023. And when you revert back to your 2023 form, I cannot trust you. So, yeah, Philadelphia, absolutely a playoff team. They're going to win the NFC East. They may win a playoff game. They are a threat to the Rams, but I don't see this team going the distance this year. Speaking of another team I don't see going the distance, I think Tampa Bay is just stuck in the same position. They've been stuck in the same position over and over again for the last few years. They have a great chance to win the division. They got the Panthers next week for what will ultimately. They got the Panthers. Two of the last 3 games are against Carolina. So the NFC South comes down to these final matchups. They got the Panthers next week, then the Dolphins, then the Panthers. So somebody's going to win the NFC South this year. It's been garbage. The Bucs this year, they beat the Texans. That was a good win. They beat the Seahawks. That was an impressive win. They beat the Niners. That was an impressive win. Since beating the Niners, they've been taking a lot of L's and they've been dealing with injuries. It just seems like this team that looked like a legitimate threat has just cooled off and they become whatever they become. Oh, wait, I forgot. I didn't do this with Philadelphia because I was talking about their offense this year. Dang, where's Philadelphia? I was talking about their offense this year. Jalen Hurts. You know Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts this year is actually not playing. He's playing well. 2,900 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, QBR 54.6, passer rating of 99. I mean, he's playing well. Technically, compared to the numbers he had last year when they won the Super Bowl, he's actually this is probably gonna be his best season from a statistical standpoint because with 3 games left to go, he's got 22 touchdown passes. His career high in touchdown passes is 23. He may end up with 25, 26 touchdown passes. So statistically, this is gonna be Jalen Hurts' best year from a numbers perspective. Hell, he's gonna get. Based on this, with 3 games left, he could get close to 3,700 passing yards as well. So, I mean, we just got to see. But, like, yeah, Jalen Hurts is having a good year. It's just I don't like what I've been seeing from Philadelphia, and that's ultimately my issue with the Eagles. I just don't see them repeating. I just don't see it. They haven't looked good consistently. They don't look like the same dominant team we saw last year. And Tampa Bay's fallen off a cliff since they beat the Niners. They've gotten tremendously worse. Lost to the Lions, lost to the Patriots, lost to the Bills, lost to the Rams. I mean, it's just lost. They're getting beaten some of these games, man. I don't have any hope for Tampa Bay to do anything. If they win the NFC South, they're one and done. Baker on the season, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, passer rating of 90. Baker's having a good year. It's a downgrade from what he had last year, obviously. That was a career year for him last year. But, yeah, this team's one and done. If they make the playoffs, they're one and done. If they don't make the playoffs, that means Carolina outplayed them in those 2 games and beat them. But, yeah, there's nothing to say about Tampa Bay. This team's not going the distance. I mean, we could say offensively, yeah, they're nothing to sniff at offensively. They're like middle of the pack. Yeah, middle of the pack offensively. Defensively, uh, they're actually a bottom 10 defense. They're just not a good team this year. Nothing else to say. Did they make the playoffs? One and done. Next up, let's talk about another team that has a chance here. Next up, we get to talk about that team. Ooh, boy, we get to talk about that team. Let me tell you this right now. The number 5 seeded team in the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams are my Super Bowl pick. The Seattle Seahawks are my dark horse team. There's no way you can convince me that Seattle doesn't have the team that's capable of going to win, that's capable of winning the Super Bowl. They got the team that's capable of winning the Super Bowl. You cannot convince me otherwise. The Seattle Seahawks, let's get into that group. So the Seattle Seahawks are still fighting with the Rams for the NFC West. And the Seahawks this year, man, they've been a great, great team. Now, I have some concerns. Once again, we know where all our concerns come from. So let's take a look at the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 11-3 on the season. Of course, being 11-3 means you have some impressive wins. They beat the Jaguars. They beat the Texans. What? Okay, well, that's fair now. All right, Jaguars and Texans seems to be the only games that they've beaten that they've been impressive. Beating the Jaguars and the Texans were impressive wins. Other than that, they haven't had a lot of tough competition. So it's kind of hard to really grade them. They got the Rams again next week, then the Panthers and the Niners. But the Rams have not had, they're still my dark horse team, but they have not really had as tough as a schedule as the Rams have had. The Rams have had a tougher schedule, and they've played better. That's why they got the number 1 seed right now. That's why the Rams are my Super Bowl team. But I really like the Seattle team. I think they're a well-balanced team overall. But when it comes to the biggest moment, I can't trust the offense, particularly Sam Darnold. So taking a look at the Seattle's offense here, Seattle's offense is ranked they're 9th in total yards. So they're 9th in total yards offensively. Passing yards, they're within the top 10. Rushing yards, Seattle is actually not good at running the ball. They're actually a very poor running team. In terms of scoring, Seattle's within the top 5. So Seattle, they average scoring about 29 points a game. Well, yeah, about 28.9, so about 29 points a game. So Seattle has a good offense. Seattle has a good offense. What's going on, Loyal? Since you're here, I had 2 streams, so this is the second stream. It cut off on me. I was initially starting off with the AFC, and now I'm doing the NFC. I've already revealed my Super Bowl pick and my team that I picked in the AFC and my dark horse team. So for the NFC, my Super Bowl pick is the Rams. I believe the Rams are the team to beat and the team that's going to get to Super Bowl. I'm talking about my dark horse team right now, the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle is my dark horse team, and I think they have the capability of beating the Rams, and I'm going to go into that. But for my AFC team, I got the Denver Broncos making the Super Bowl. I think they are the most well-rounded team, both offensively and defensively. Although I do have concerns with with Bo Nix's consistency, but that is my Super Bowl pick. And of course, my dark horse team is the Houston Texans. I don't think there's any way any other team in the AFC could be that dark horse spot. Houston has the best defense in football. They're top 5 in pass defense. They're top 5 in rush defense. They're top 5 in takeaways. They're the number 1 scoring defense in the league. They are the best defense in football. That defense is good enough to carry them to the playoffs. Nobody wants to deal with that defense come January. That defense is not good enough to carry them to the playoffs. That defense is good enough to carry them to the Super Bowl. I don't want to stop at the playoffs. That defense is good enough to carry Houston to the Super Bowl. You just want to see consistency from CJ Stroud on the offense, and they can go the distance. So, Super Bowl pick in the AFC, Denver, dark horse team, Houston, NFC, Rams, dark horse, Seattle. So, back to Seattle here. The Seahawks have a top 10 offense. Defensively, like I said, however you feel about it is however you feel about it. Defensively, the Seahawks rank 4th in the league in defense. In terms of total yards, they're 4th. In terms of passing yards, they're 7th in passing yards. In terms of run defense, they're third. They're 7 in passing. They're third in rushing. They're a top 10 defense. In terms of scoring defense, they're second right behind the Houston Texans. They average giving up 17.3 points. Houston averages giving up 16.3. To make it even more interesting here, in terms of takeaways, Seattle is fifth in the league in takeaways. Seattle has a top 5 defense. Seattle has a legitimate top 5 defense. This isn't even a hyperbole. Seattle has a top 5 defense. So let me get this straight. Seattle has a top 5 defense. They have a top 10 offense, a top 5 defense. They're 11-3. And I'm not supposed to look at these guys as a legitimate Super Bowl contender. What's going on, Raven C? Appreciate you stopping by, my guy. Yeah, the Heat suck right now. They had a fun offense and then forgot how to play basketball for a month. They haven't won a basketball game since December 1st. That is a real truth. But yeah, the Seahawks have a top 5 defense, a top 10 offense. What's to stop them from getting the Super Bowl? What's to stop them from getting to the Super Bowl? Simple, the Rams. Now, here's the thing. I really hope we get a Rams and Seahawks NFC Championship game. Here's the thing. Seattle, one of their 3 losses was to the Rams. The Rams beat them 21-19. In this game, Seattle's defense held the Rams offense to 21 points. But this has to be known here. The Seattle defense held. Matthew Stafford played great in that game. He played good in that game. 15-28. He played good, not great. 15-28, 130, 2 touchdowns, no picks, passer rating of 89.9. Kyren Williams, 12 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Puka Nacua led the way with 75 receiving yards. There was also a fumble that was there was also a fumble by Puka. I don't think they lost that. No, they lost it. Yeah. They also turned the ball over once. The defense forced 1 turnover here. They held Matthew Stafford in the offense to 21 points. But here's the kicker. Here is the kicker, man. Here's the kicker. Sam Darnold threw 4 picks. Sam Darnold had the worst game of the season. He threw 4 picks. Sam Darnold, 29-44, 279, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. You're telling me Sam Darnold turned the ball over 4 times, and yet the Rams were held to 21 points and beat the Seahawks by 2 in LA. Why would I not believe the Seattle Seahawks can't beat this team? We're going to be here tomorrow night for Thursday Night Football. I'm not missing this. Not tomorrow night. We'll be here Thursday night because today's Tuesday. What I think today was Wednesday. Today is Tuesday. Thursday Night Football, we got Rams, we got Seahawks. That's essentially going to be for the NFC West. I will be here to stream Thursday Night Football. I'm not missing this game. This is going to be at Seattle. This is going to be my indication as to whether or not Seattle can really beat this team. If Sam Darnold doesn't turn the ball over 4 times, does Seattle win this game? 4 turnovers is going to kill you. They turned the ball over 4 times. Their quarterback threw 4 picks, and Seattle held them to 21 points, and they lost by 2. I'm telling you, Seattle has a top 5 defense. They have a top 10 offense. This team can get it done. If there's a team that can beat my Super Bowl pick in the Rams, it's the Seahawks. This is a dangerous team. This is a legit team. This is a serious contender. They are a dark horse team. They don't even deserve to be a dark horse team. Realistically, I can't call them a dark horse team. They're too damn good. It's tough to call them a dark horse team, but they're in the wild card round, so they earned the title dark horse team because they're not leading their division. So I can't call them a dark horse team. If anything, the Niners would probably be better to be called a dark horse team. No one expects anything from them. They could surprise some people. They're 10-4. But Seattle is that damn good. That's the one team I think can absolutely beat the Rams. And we're going to find out Thursday night if Seattle can really beat the Rams. We're going to find out in Seattle tomorrow. We're going to be here. Not tomorrow, Thursday. We're going to be here for Thursday Night Football. We're going to find out in Seattle. Thursday Night Football, Rams, Seahawks. We're going to be here to stream that one. But I think the one team that could beat the Seahawks the one team that could beat the Rams in the playoffs will be the Seahawks. I don't trust Philadelphia. I'm not too big on Chicago. They got to prove themselves. The Bucs ain't going to get it done. Seattle can get it done against LA for sure. Dark horse Super Bowl team for sure. This team could beat anybody in the playoffs. No question. Next up, we've got the number 6 seeded Niners. This team right now, honestly, if I'm going to be honest, this should really be a dark horse Super Bowl team. The Niners should be a dark horse Super Bowl team because they better fit the quality. Seattle is too damn good of a football team for us to sit back and pretend that they are a dark horse team. That's a legitimate contending team. Nobody's overlooking the Seahawks. So I don't even think I can put them as a dark horse team. I got to put the Niners. Nobody's looking at Seattle like they're a dark horse team. Everybody fully understands the Seahawks are a contending team. So I'm going to have to switch my pick. Then again, people are looking at Houston that way as well. But I don't know. Houston's not even winning their division. And, well, then again, Seattle's not winning the division. You know what? Things get tough when you try to think about these things. Either way, let's get to the Niners. Seahawks, legitimate Super Bowl contending team. They can beat the Rams and they can go to the Super Bowl. Let's take a look at the Niners real quick. So the San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan has put together one of his most impressive coaching jobs of his career. There's nothing else that can be said. The Niners have been dealing with injuries all over the place. This has been an injury-riddled season. If the Niners make the Super Bowl, they have no excuses not winning this time. Dude, they've been injured all year. It depends on, who are they going to face off against? Let me take a look at the numbers. If they face off against Denver, I don't think the Niners are going to win. This team's still injured to this day. They're missing guys left and right. Mac Jones has been, Brock Purdy's back now, but Mac Jones played part of the season. Brock Purdy's back now. Brandon Ayuk, they're done. They're moving on from Brandon Ayuk. He's not coming back. The injuries all over the damn place. They've been surviving. They beat the Seahawks. That's an impressive win. They beat the Rams. That's an impressive win. That's it. They have 2 impressive wins. But what's been impressive about this team is they're winning despite the fact that they got 1 million people on IR. So they have 2 impressive wins against divisional foes. But other than that, they don't have a lot of impressive wins. But what's impressive about this team is they've been winning despite the fact that they've had 1 million people on IR. They should not be winning these games with all these damn people on IR. But they have found a way to do so. Taking a look at it offensively, the Niners are 10th in total yards this year. They're the 10th best offense in terms of total yards. Passing yards, the Niners are 4th. Rushing yards, the Niners are at the bottom of the league. So their passing is carrying a lot. Scoring, the Niners, they're 11th. Scoring, they're 11th and they're putting up 24.6 points a game. But they're 10th. They're 10th in the league in total yards. They're a sub-tier top 10 offense. So they're a sub-top 10 offense. Defensively, the Niners have not been a great team defensively this year. They're middle of the pack. Total yards, middle of the pack. Passing defense, middle of the pack. Rushing defense, middle of the pack. Actually, they're 12th in rushing defense. In terms of scoring defense, they're around 12th again. They average giving up about 21 points a game. In terms of takeaways, the Niners are not a strong team when it comes to takeaways. They only have 14 takeaways on the season. Yeah, the Niners are kind of a middle-of-the-pack team, but they've found ways to win games. They have a borderline top 10 offense, and they have a top 15 defense. So they're not exactly a strong team. I think this team is going to make the playoffs, and they may surprise a contending team. But the Niners, I don't see them getting to the Super Bowl. If the Niners get to the Super Bowl, Kyle Shanahan is undoubtedly the greatest coach in the league. He's the best coach in football if they get to the Super Bowl. But this might be a one-and-done team. They may make the playoffs, but they're going to go one-and-done just because they're not healthy enough to really compete. So, yeah, not much to really say about the Niners. I'm happy that they're still able to compete despite all the injuries, but I don't know if this team can go all the way. That's the question. Next up, we've got the Packers. Green Bay. Now, Green Bay was a team that I saw as a legitimate Super Bowl contending team back when they had Micah Parsons. But with Micah Parsons suffering a season-ending injury, I think their Super Bowl hopes have officially gone down the drain. They're not going to get to the Super Bowl without Micah. I do not believe they're going to get to the Super Bowl without Micah. They just lost the game against the Denver Broncos. A game they probably could have won had Micah not gone down, potentially. But I don't know. Either way, I don't look at Green Bay right now as a team that I'm going to sit back and say is going to get to the Super Bowl. I think that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. They're going to be a playoff team. They might even win the division. They're going to be a playoff team. They might win the division. But, yeah, they had a great win against the Lions week 1. They swept the Lions and beat the Bears. The only impressive wins from them, they swept the Lions and beat Chicago. I mean, I don't see anything else majorly here that you would say is super strong in terms of teams that they contend. They beat the Steelers, if you consider that strong. But yeah, Green Bay, their chances are down the drain. Offensively, Green Bay's offense is around like 12th. Total yards around 12. Again, they're close to middle of the path. They're not standout. They're actually not a good running team either. And offensively, they score about 25 points a game, so they're within the top 10. They're a good offense. Defensively, they have a top 10 defense, but you're going to have to remember, you're going to have to change things up now that Micah not being here, how much is this? They have a top 10 defense, but without Micah here, how is this defense going to look? Because, again, they're top 10 in everything, from passing defense, rush defense, scoring defense. They're top 10 in everything. They have a top 10 defense, if not top 5 defense, arguably. But there's no Micah Parsons. There is no Micah Parsons. And without Micah Parsons, how am I supposed to feel about this defense now? Will they take a step back? That's a huge question. So, I'm just not sure in Green Bay now. If Micah was here, absolutely serious, legitimate threat. But with no Micah Parsons, with that torn ACL, it kind of feels like the Packers' chances to make the Super Bowl is gone. Yeah, they're going to make the playoffs. Possibly, but are they going to do anything with that? I don't see them beating the Rams. I don't see them beating Seattle. I don't see them beating Philadelphia even. I just don't trust the Packers. With no Micah, I have serious concerns. But they'll be a playoff team, that's for sure. I'll say they'll be a playoff team potentially, if not the number 8 seed here, which let's get down to the final ones. Cowboys are out. They got 1% chance. I don't care what you got to say. Cowboys are not going to make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs in a miracle, they're done. One and done. We got 2 more teams left. The Lions. Detroit this year, they've had a weird year. They've got a 40% chance, of making the playoffs. They got to hope Green Bay collapses because Green Bay has a tiebreaker over them. And if Green Bay collapses because of the Micah Parsons loss, Detroit could sneak into the playoffs. But right now, Detroit's out of the playoffs, and their chances of making the playoffs is very low. Then again, if the Chicago Bears just fall off a cliff these last 3 games, Detroit can certainly steal. Keep that in mind. So, taking a look at this, the most impressive win for the Lions this year, they beat Chicago 52-21. They beat Tampa Bay. And that's it. I guess they don't have a lot of really strong wins. They thrashed the Ravens, but the Ravens turned out to not be a good team. I don't even know how you look at that now. The Lions, overall this year, offensively, they have the best offense in football, if that helps. Well, actually, in terms of total yards, they're ranked 4th. They got the best scoring offense in football. They're a top 5 offense in everything. Passing, rushing, they're a top 5 offense. But they have the best scoring offense in the league. They averaged about nearly 31 points a game. So they have the best scoring offense in the league. Defensively, Detroit is not a good defense. In total yards, they're not good. Passing yards, they're not good. In fact, they're at the bottom of the league. Pass defense at the bottom of the league. Rush defense, they're not great either, middle of the pack. Scoring defense, they average giving up, wow, they're really bad. They average giving up nearly 25 points a game. Yeah, this is not a good defense. I don't see Detroit. Detroit has an offense that could put up points against anybody. But realistically here, I don't know if they make the playoffs. And if they do, I don't see them going the distance. I just think their defense is not great enough to help them beat a team like Seattle or LA. And speaking of which, they lost to the Rams. They lost the Rams 41-34. I just don't. We saw in that game. That defense cannot stop the Rams offense. And then their offense can't keep up with the Rams offense. I just look at that and say, yeah, I don't think they have. I don't think they're gonna have it this year. I think Detroit, if they miss the playoffs, so be it. If they make the playoffs, they're not going the distance. That kind of just downs things. But it is what it is. Last but not least, to finish things off here, we have the Carolina Panthers, who currently are tied with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the NFC South. The Panthers and the Bucks play each other twice in the final 3 weeks of this season. Panthers have a 23% chance of making the playoffs, and if they can win those two matchups against Tampa Bay, they will win the NFC South. Now, taking a look at the Carolina Panthers here. Excuse me as I try to look for the Panthers here. Taking a look at the Carolina Panthers this year. Let's take a look at this. Taking a look at the Carolina Panthers here. They've had some nasty losses, but they've also had some impressive wins. They beat the Packers. They beat the Rams. Honestly, I think those are their only two impressive wins, beating the Packers and the Rams. Because they beat the Falcons. They actually gave the Falcons a 30 ball and shut them out. That's actually somewhat impressive. That's really impressive. It's not easy to shut out any team in the National Football League. So that's technically an impressive win. Beat the Dolphins, beat the Cowboys, beat the Jets. Got thrashed by the Buffalo Bills. Beating the Packers and beating the Rams are the two most impressive wins Carolina's had. Carolina this season, I haven't really been looking at quarterback stats anymore, so it is what it is. But let me look at the offense and the defense for Carolina. Carolina's offense is ranked. They got a bottom tier offense. They're not great in total yards. They're at the bottom. They're at the bottom 10 in the league. Passing yards, they're at the bottom 10. Rushing yards, they're ninth in rushing. That could actually be helpful if they can make the playoffs. So this is a team that can run the football effectively. They're not a great team at scoring. They average scoring 18 points a game. So one thing that the Panthers could lean on if they make the playoffs is their run game. They're not good defensively either. They're not a good defense. They're middle of the road. And actually, they're close to the bottom 10. They're not a good defense. They're not a good defense. Did they do anything well? Let's see. Pass defense. Carolina's not good at that. Rushing defense. Carolina's not good at that. Scoring defense. Carolina is not good at that. But it's kind of middle of the road. So, I mean, they're a 7-17 for a reason. They're not a great team. They're an average team. But they at least run the ball well. Overall, the Panthers, if they miss the playoffs, so be it. If they make the playoffs, it's a one-and-done year for them. But, hey, making the playoffs will be a huge improvement over last year. Making the playoffs will be a huge step in the right direction for them. But, realistically, Carolina could maybe shock somebody. But, overall, they're not doing anything serious in the playoffs. It is what it is. All right, so with that being said, AFC, I got the Denver Broncos as my Super Bowl pick. I got the Houston Texans as my dark horse team, the teams I believe that can win the Super Bowl for sure. The Broncos, or at least get to the Super Bowl, not win. Let's say get to the Super Bowl. The team that can get to the Super Bowl. Broncos, Patriots. With that defense, Houston, and Buffalo. I think the Chargers and the Jaguars can put up good fights and make some noise in the playoffs, but I would not trust them to go the distance. And I have no faith and confidence in in Baltimore or Pittsburgh doing anything. Prove me wrong, Buffalo. Prove me wrong, Baltimore. Prove me wrong. So I got 4 teams that I believe can get to the Super Bowl in the AFC. The Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots, the Buffalo Bills, and the Houston Texans because of that defense. They got the best defense in football. So 4 teams I believe could get to the Super Bowl. Broncos, Patriots, Bills, Texans, based off of what we've seen so far this season. Two teams that are going to be in the playoffs that could make some noise, but I don't think it's going to get there. Chargers and Jaguars. And then we got the lowly AFC North. If the Steelers make the playoffs, they're going one and done. If the Ravens make the playoffs, they're probably going to go one and done as well. Even if they find a way to win a playoff game, they're not going to be able to string together 3 consistently great games. They haven't been able to string together 3 decently good games this season. They had a 5-game winning streak, but they weren't playing good football. They were not playing good football. They weren't even consistent in those wins. So it is what it is. If Baltimore proves me wrong, we'll be here to celebrate, but realistically, I don't see that happening. In terms of the NFC, there's probably, 4 or 5 legitimate teams that I see making the Super Bowl here. Oh, actually, maybe 3. No, honestly, the Rams, the Seahawks are the only 2 teams the Rams and Seahawks I can legitimately see make the playoffs. I can give the benefit of the doubt to Philadelphia as a defending champ, saying they can get their crap together because they know how to win in the playoffs now. And maybe I can give a little bit of credit to Kyle Shanahan, a guy that's been to 2 Super Bowls as the head coach of the Niners. So 3, maybe 4 teams could make the Super Bowl. You got a team in Chicago that's going to make the playoffs, but I don't see them going the distance. Buccaneers or Panthers will just be one and done. And then the Packers, without Micah Parsons, I can't see them making the Super Bowl. That's pretty much it for me. That's pretty much it for me. Just face it, Ravens ain't going to the playoffs. You telling me this? Dude, I've been saying this team ain't making the playoffs. You got the wrong guy. I'm just throwing the scenarios out there. We're just here to throw the scenarios. I've been ready for the offseason. I checked out after week 1, Manny. I've been checked out from this team since week 1. I'm the one that said nothing they did in the 5-game winning streak was impressive. I said this defense was going to get exposed by an elite quarterback. I've been talking about this team. Now you expect us to believe they're going to go 3-0. No, I mean I've been accept this team ain't going to make the playoffs. I've been saying prove me wrong. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't see them going on a run. But if they prove me wrong, we'll be here to celebrate. But I don't believe they're going to go the distance. You ain't got to tell me twice, Manning. I've been checked out after week 1. I've said it all year. They have not been a good team. They haven't. They have not been a good team. They have not been a consistent team this year. Do you think we have a chance to make it in? Who? Do you think who has a chance to make it in? Which team do you think has a chance to make it in? Which team specifically do you think has a chance? Who are you talking about in terms of we? Because there's only 3 teams that I could think of. Well, there's only 3 spots that I would think to speak about teams that have a chance to make it in. The AFC North matchups, the NFC South matchups, and the Detroit Lions. So, Ravens, do I think the Ravens have a chance to make it in? Yeah, they do have a chance to make it in. If the Ravens beat the Patriots on Sunday Night Football and the Steelers lose to the Lions, it comes down to Week 18. They don't have to win all 3 of these games. They have to win one of these 2 games and then beat Pittsburgh to win the division. They also have to hope Pittsburgh drops to the Lions, which I guess a lot of people expect Pittsburgh to just get smoked by Detroit because Detroit's fighting for their playoff lives. So Baltimore beats New England on Sunday Night Football and the Steelers lose to the Lions. Week 17 becomes irrelevant because nobody can clinch the division no matter what, which means Week 18 automatically becomes a do-or-die pseudo playoff game, winner take all for the division in Pittsburgh for Week 18. But yeah, Baltimore has a chance to make it in. They absolutely do. They control their own destiny. It doesn't matter what I say here on this platform. Baltimore knows they control their own destiny. If they go 3-0 these last 3 games, they win the division. There's nothing Pittsburgh can do. They have the tiebreaker because of the third tiebreaker about result of opponents, because I think the difference is Baltimore beat Chicago. I think the difference comes to the NFC North opponents. I think that's where it comes down to. Ultimately. Yeah, it'll come down to that. Baltimore will have a better, no matter what, Baltimore is going to have a better record against NFC North teams than Pittsburgh, because Baltimore took on the Lions and lost, the Bears and won. They're going to go up against the Packers. They beat the Vikings. Baltimore beat the Vikings and the Bears. So they're 2-1 against the NFC North. Meanwhile, the Steelers, I think the Steelers lost to the Vikings, did they not? Or did they beat the Vikings? No, I think the Steelers beat the Vikings. Let me see. Yeah, I think the Steelers beat the Vikings. Yeah, Steelers beat the Vikings. So Steelers beat the Vikings. Steelers lost the Bears. They're 1-1. They got Detroit. Oh wait, did they already play? Yeah, they lost to the Packers. That's it. So they lost the Packers and they lost to the they lost to the Packers and lost to the Bears. They're 1-2. Baltimore's 2-1. Yeah. So Steelers don't have the tiebreaker. Steelers have the, if Baltimore wins their final 3 games, Steelers won't. It won't matter what the Steelers finish with. Baltimore has the tiebreaker. If Baltimore wins their last 3 games, Baltimore has a tiebreaker because even though they'll both have a 4-2 record, no, they beat the what's it called? They beat the Vikings, but they lost to the Packers and lost to the Bears. We beat the Vikings, we beat the Bears. It's gonna come down to our record against the NFC North. That's the third tiebreaker. The first tiebreaker is gonna be like divisional records and then conference, like normal records. Tiebreaker is the normal record. The second tiebreaker is division record. The third tiebreaker is division record against the NFC North for some reason. I don't know how these tiebreaker scenarios are. So, like, if Baltimore wins, let's say Pittsburgh wins their final games, Baltimore, or except, let's say Pittsburgh beats the Lions, beats the not Bears. They beat the Lions, beat the Browns. They'll head into Week 18 at, what are they? At 10-6. Baltimore beats the Patriots, beats the Packers. They'll head into the Week 18 matchup at 9-7. If Baltimore beats the Steelers, both teams will finish the season at 10-7. But Baltimore would have beaten the Vikings, beaten the Bears, Steelers win division record. Dude, if the Ravens beat the Steelers, the Ravens will finish 4-2. That's what you're missing. The Steelers lost to the Bengals the first time around. They beat the Bengals the second time, so they're 3-1 right now. They beat the Bengals, they beat the Browns the first time, they beat Baltimore. They're 3-2. Baltimore swept they swept the Browns, so that's 2. They beat the Bengals, but lost the Bengals as 3. Baltimore is 3-2. Manny, Baltimore is 3-2. Pittsburgh is 3-1. They have 2 more divisional games. If Pittsburgh beats the Browns, they will be 4-1 heading into that final matchup. Baltimore doesn't have any other games. They'll be 3-2. Steelers have 1 division. Yes, Manny, listen to me. I'm talking about what would happen at the end of the year. Pittsburgh right now is 3-1 in the division. Listen, Pittsburgh is 3-1 in the division. Baltimore is 3-2 in the division. If Pittsburgh beats the Browns, they will be 4-1. Baltimore's played 5 divisional games. They are at 3-2. If Baltimore and Pittsburgh take on each other in Week 18 and the Ravens beat the Steelers will go to 4-2 and the Ravens will go to 4-2. Do you get me? Do you understand? Because Baltimore's at 3-2 right now. Pittsburgh's at 3-1. If they beat the Browns, they will be at 4-1. If the Ravens beat the Steelers Week 18, Pittsburgh will drop to 4-2. Baltimore will go to 4-2. Do you get me? They will have the same divisional record at the end of the year. That's why I'm saying it will come down to the third tiebreaker. They'll both be 10-7. They will both be 4-2 in the division. The third tiebreaker based off of the playoff scenarios is going to be dependent on your record against the NFC North. And if in this scenario, if Baltimore wins against Green Bay, then that means they would have won against Green Bay, they would have won against Minnesota, and they would have won against Chicago. They'd be 3-1 against the NFC North. Pittsburgh lost to the Packers. Pittsburgh lost to Chicago. The best they can do is go 2-2. 3-1 versus 2-2. Baltimore has the tiebreaker there. That's why they would get in the playoffs over the Steelers. The playoff scenarios are always confusing, but that is how it's going to go. So I'm going to take it slowly, one step at a time here, Manny. Pittsburgh are 8-6 right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 8-6 right now. Baltimore is 7-7. Let's play the scenario that both teams win all their games. Baltimore beats New England, they go to 8-7. Pittsburgh beats Detroit, they go to 9-6. Baltimore beats the Packers, they go to 9-7. Pittsburgh beats the Browns, they go to 10-6. 10-6, 9-7, heading into Week 18. If Baltimore beats the Steelers, They will advance to 10-7. Pittsburgh will drop to 10-7. The first tiebreaker is that record. They are 10-7. The next tiebreaker will be the fact that they have the same divisional record. Because right now, Ravens are 3-2. Pittsburgh's 3-1. They beat the Browns. They'll be 4-1. They meet them in week 18. Ravens beat the Steelers. Ravens go to 4-2. Steelers drop to 4-2. Second tiebreaker. Both teams are 4-2 in the division, so they will go to the next tiebreaker. But here's another thing, Manning. Here's the thing that you're missing, Manning. Here's the thing that you're missing. If we lose to the Patriots, it's not quite over if the Steelers beat. If the what you missed is the Lions part. You didn't talk about the Lions. They play the Lions next week. If the Ravens lose to the Patriots, the Steelers have to beat the Lions to make the scenario work. That's what you're missing out on. You can't say because they beat Cleveland, even if they lose the Lions. No. If this is how it work out, Baltimore loses to the Lions. Baltimore loses to the Patriots. Steelers lose to the Lions. We're right back where we are. I will play this out for you, Manning. Baltimore is 7-7. They lose to the Patriots. They're 7-8. Pittsburgh loses to the Lions. They drop to 9-7. Sorry, they dropped to 8-7 because they're 8-6 right now. Manning, listen to me, Manning, because you're confusing yourself here. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 8-6. The Baltimore Ravens are 7-7. If Pittsburgh loses to Detroit, they go from 8-6 to 8-7. If Baltimore loses, they go from 7-7 to 7-8. Baltimore beats Green Bay. They're 8-8. Pittsburgh Pittsburgh will still be a game ahead. They will be a game ahead heading into week 18, which you are missing, dude. It doesn't matter if Pittsburgh is a game ahead heading into week 18. If Pittsburgh loses to Baltimore, they will finish the season with the same record. It doesn't matter if Pittsburgh has a lead against Baltimore. If Pittsburgh is up one game against Baltimore heading into week 18 and Baltimore beats them, will they not have identical records? If Detroit beats Pittsburgh and Baltimore loses to New England, they will still be at the same place. Pittsburgh will have a one-game lead over Baltimore. Pittsburgh beats the Browns. Green Bay ends up losing to the Ravens. We will still be in the same scenario. Instead of it being 10-6 versus 9-7, it will be 9-7 versus 8-8. Winner of that one will be 9-8. The winner of that game would win the division. If Baltimore beats Pittsburgh, they win the division. It doesn't matter about them having a game ahead of us. If Baltimore and Pittsburgh walk into, it's not even Heinz Field anymore. If we walk into week 18 and Pittsburgh is one game ahead of Baltimore, they're still going to fight for the division. If Baltimore wins that game, they win the division. Yes, it basically comes down to week 18 unless Baltimore loses two of their last three games. Let me pull out the scenarios because you might be confused yourself. It comes down to week 18 is what I'm trying to tell you. If Baltimore wins all three of their games, they make the playoffs no matter what. Here are the scenarios, just in case you're confusing yourself. I know, Manny, the scenarios are so confusing. Here are the three ways in which the Ravens can make the playoffs. The option is to win out. If Baltimore wins their final three games and go to 10-7, they win the AFC North. Here's the second scenario. Baltimore loses one of these two games between Green Bay or Detroit, but they beat Pittsburgh. They win the division. The only way the Ravens are out is if they lose the next two. Yes, you got it, Manny. That's right there. I don't even have to explain. The only way the Steelers win the division and the Ravens win the division. The only way the Steelers win the division and the Ravens are out is if they lose their next two. Baltimore has to lose two of their final three games in order for Pittsburgh to clinch the division before week 18. But Pittsburgh cannot clinch the division before week 18 if Baltimore wins one of these two games. If Baltimore beats the Patriots next week, if Baltimore beats the Patriots next week and the Lions beat the Steelers, we're right back where we need to be. Baltimore will have to, Baltimore wouldn't even have to win that game against the Actually, no, Baltimore will probably have to win that game because we'll still be right where we need to be. No, I'm trying to think about that too because if Baltimore wins and Pittsburgh wins, it'd still be an extra game there. They would still need Pittsburgh to lose a game, though. They would still need, if Baltimore wins and Pittsburgh wins, bro, let's wake up. If they beat the Lions and we lose the Pats, it's over. Oh, yeah, no. If we lose the Patriots and they beat the Lions, it's at that point, it's all over. At that point, it's like, yeah. At that point, it's like, yeah, we're most likely going to lose. Because at that point, if we lose the Patriots and they beat the Lions, at that point, we'll be, what's it called? We'll be 7-8. They will be 9-6. And at that point, it'll be a 2-game spread, and you would basically have to hope that they lose to Cleveland. So yeah, that's the thing. If the Ravens don't beat the Patriots and the Lions, if the Lions lose to the Steelers and the Ravens lose to the Patriots, it's essentially over because they're not losing to Cleveland. But that's just the scenarios. The scenarios are all weird. It's complicated. Baltimore has 3 ways of making the playoffs. Playoff scenario number 1, they win out. Easiest scenario out of this. Scenario number 2, they lose 1 game, but Pittsburgh's got to lose a game as well, and then they got to beat Pittsburgh in week 18. Scenario number 2, they lose both these games, but Pittsburgh loses both their games, and they got to beat Pittsburgh in week 18 to win the division. The most unlikely of circumstances to watch Pittsburgh lose both games. Pittsburgh might lose against Detroit. They're not losing against Cleveland. So the realistic aspect here would have to be a situation where I could see Pittsburgh losing to Detroit. Don't know if Baltimore beats the Patriots, but they could get the Packers, who are reeling right now, especially without Micah Parsons, and then it comes down to week 18. So essentially, Ravens do have to win at least one of these games to set themselves up. But in all honesty, we don't even have to talk about these wins and losses. Baltimore has to win their final 3 games. They know what the scenario is. Whether you and I believe they can do it, which most of us don't, what do we believe they can do it? They know what the scenario is. Beat the Patriots on Sunday night. Beat the Packers on Saturday. Beat the Steelers beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh in week 18 to win the division. That's it. We already know what the scenario is. If Baltimore wins their last 3 games, they got it. They're in the playoffs. They win the division. Baltimore wins their last 3 games, they're in the playoffs. There's nothing Pittsburgh can do about it. Baltimore wins their last 3, they're going to win the AFC North. We don't even have to play this scenario as well. Well, if Baltimore wins and Pittsburgh loses, nah. Baltimore knows they got to win their final 3 games. They drop one of these games, they need help. Simple as that. Baltimore controls their own destiny. If they don't take advantage of this opportunity by getting themselves together and winning these 3 games, it's up to them. You win these 3 games, you're in the playoffs. You don't win these 3 games, you're going to miss the playoffs most likely. Because I'm not taking a chance. You lose against New England and they beat the Lions, yeah, season's over. Season's definitely over after that. Because at that point, you'll have to hope they lose to Cleveland and then lose to you, which won't happen. So, yeah. It comes down to that. But yeah, pretty much with that being said, guys, this is it for me. I just wanted to give my takes about all the teams here. It'd be cool if the Texans make the AFC title game. It would be cool. But yeah, we'll have to see how things go. I've been talking for the last 3 hours, and my voice is straining right now because we've been on here for the last 3 hours. This is the second stream we had to run. We were doing the first stream. We started at like 7-something or something like that. So we've been here for like the last 3+ hours. I want to go rest my voice. I got work tomorrow. But I wanted to give my takes about all these playoff teams. Like I said, in the AFC, I see the Broncos, the Patriots, the Bills, and the Texans. Those are the 4 teams I could see making the Super Bowl. I could see Jacksonville and the Chargers putting up a fight, but I think they will come up short. And then whether it's the Steelers or the Ravens, neither one of those teams is going to do anything. 7th seed still available. Yeah, but not for Baltimore. Baltimore doesn't have any tiebreakers. Remember, we lost to the Bills and we lost to the Texans. We don't have any tiebreakers against them. So the 7th seed's only available for the Colts. We can't make the playoffs via wildcard round. There's no scenario where Baltimore makes the playoffs as a 7th seed because we don't have any tiebreakers. The Texans already have. Let me look at this real quick here. Yeah, we wouldn't get over the Colts. The Colts have a tiebreaker because of conference record. They're 9-5. The Texans are 9-5, but here's the thing: the Texans right now, the Texans have already beaten the Colts. The Colts would have to. The only way the Colts make the playoffs is if they get 10 wins. So here's the thing: we don't have a tiebreaker over the Colts. They have a better conference record than we do. We don't have a tiebreaker over the Colts. That's why I'm saying the wild card spot's only there for the Colts. We don't have a tiebreaker over Indianapolis. Like I'm saying, it's a bad year for Baltimore. We don't have a tiebreaker over we lost head to head against the Bills. We did play the Chargers, but we lost. But they have a better conference record than we do. Both the Chargers and the Colts have better conference records in the AFC. That's the tiebreaker. We wouldn't get in over them. If Baltimore, the best Baltimore can finish with is 10-7. The Colts are 8-6. Let's just assume the Colts find a way to take that. Let's say the Texans lose out, right? Texans loses their final 3 games. They're 9-8. Baltimore, Steelers have more AFC wins. They do. They do. They have a tiebreak over us on that one too. But again, we can't. We're not. Are you talking about the Steelers getting the wild card spot available for them? Are you talking about the wild card spot available for Pittsburgh or for Baltimore? Because Baltimore doesn't have availability for the wild card spot. I don't know about Pittsburgh's playoff scenarios. Maybe they can make it in via wild card, but we can't. We can't make it in via wild card. We don't have any available space because we don't have tiebreakers. Steelers beat the Colts, so they can get in over Indy. Steelers beat the Colts. If the Texans fall off a cliff, and both Indy and Pittsburgh get to 10 wins, Pittsburgh does technically have the tiebreak over Indy. They beat the Colts head to head. We don't have any tiebreakers. We didn't play the Colts this year, and we don't have the better conference record. So maybe there's a playoff scenario where the Steelers get in over the Colts. I mean, not over the Texans, but if the Texans fall off the cliff, there's maybe playoff scenarios for Pittsburgh. I haven't checked the Pittsburgh's playoff scenarios. Maybe they have a way to make the playoffs. We don't. We either win the division or we're going home. We don't have a chance to make the playoffs. That's just our situation. So maybe it's a situation where Pittsburgh, we win the division at 10-7. Pittsburgh's 10-7. The Texans lose their last 3 games, go to 9-8, and then the Colts go to 10-7. Maybe at that point Pittsburgh has the head-to-head matchup. So Pittsburgh will get in over Indy. But Baltimore has no way of making the wild card round. So the 7th seed's available for the Colts and maybe the Steelers. It's not available for the Ravens. We don't have the tiebreaker over the Texans. We don't have the tiebreaker over the Bills. And the Colts have a better conference record than we have. So we would not make it in via wildcard round. We have to win the division or we're not making the playoffs. It's as simple as that. Like I said, it's a really bad year for the Ravens. They've got no tiebreakers. They don't have a good conference record. They have no chance of making it in except winning the division. Pittsburgh might be able to sneak in via wild card if the scenario works out that way, but we don't have that luxury. So we either win the division or we're not going to the playoffs. There is no other option for the Ravens. It's either win the division or you're not making the playoffs. That's pretty much the scenario that Baltimore finds themselves in. You either win the AFC North or you're going to Cancun. But maybe Pittsburgh can sneak in. I don't know the playoff scenarios for Pittsburgh. Anyway, guys, with that being said, my voice is straining. I've been talking for 3 hours straight. I almost fell out of my chair. Yeah, the teams I said in the AFC, Denver, New England, Buffalo, Houston, I could see them all going to the Super Bowl. Chargers and Jaguars will make things interesting. But Baltimore, Pittsburgh, whether they make the playoffs or not, one and done. For the NFC, I really think the Rams and the Seahawks are the 2 teams above everybody else that absolutely can make the Super Bowl. I think Eagles would also get that benefit of the doubt as the defending champions because they know what it takes to win in the postseason now. So who knows? Maybe they turn things around in January. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Other than that, Chicago will make things interesting. Ravens play 8:20 on Sunday night against the Patriots. Bears will make things interesting. Packers have lost their chance to make the Super Bowl. So, yeah, it's primetime. We have back-to-back primetime games. We play Sunday Night Football against the Patriots, and then we play Saturday Night Football against the Packers in Green Bay. But, yeah, Packers, I think they've lost a chance to win a Super Bowl without Micah Parsons. That ship has sailed. They'll try to fight back. They'll make things interesting in the playoffs, but I don't see it. And the Niners, man, I just don't think they have the firepower. They've been fighting through so many injuries. This is an amazing coaching job by Kyle Shanahan, but I don't think they're going to make it. So really, I'm looking at the Rams. I'm looking at the Seahawks. I'm looking at the Eagles. That's pretty much it. Chicago makes things interesting. Green Bay makes things interesting. If Detroit gets in there, they make things interesting. But honestly, this is the Rams' conference to win, and Seattle's right there to make it difficult. And maybe the Rams, I'm sorry, maybe the Niners make things interesting as well. But yeah, I got two, maybe three teams in the NFC that I legitimately believe can go to the Super Bowl. Everyone else makes things interesting, and in the AFC, because it's wide open, I got about 3, 4 teams that can make the Super Bowl, and everyone else can make things interesting. So we'll see how things go. With that being said, guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I am very tired after sitting here for the last 3 hours talking nonstop. So I'm going to let y'all go. I'm going to rest. There ain't going to be no stream tomorrow because we're going to be here for Thursday Night Football. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. And I'm going to head on out of here and I'm going to rest my voice. So you guys take care. You guys stay safe. I'll see y'all later. I'll see you on Thursday night for the Seahawks Rams game. It should be fun. With that being said, that is all I've got. Be sure to stay safe and peace.